Very, very, very short. This is going to be a very, very, very short video. So basically, I, as an Apple shareholder, am celebrating Apple hitting $3 trillion valuation. Now, granted, because of the fact that Apple is heavily traded in options trading, that $3 trillion could easily shrink back below $3 trillion within the next couple of days or even the next couple of hours, possibly the next couple of weeks. It's very possible, but the reality is that's where Apple is right now. They are $3 trillion. They are the world's first $1 trillion company. They are the world's first $2 trillion company, and they are the world's first $3 trillion company. Now, I don't know if they get three separate awards for that or anything, like you get like a plaque or something. Not that they could, care. I mean, they could make it themselves. But I knew that Apple was going to be big when Steve Jobs first unveiled that iPhone back in 2007. It's like the reason why Apple is so powerful is because they have a cutting edge business model. Now, a lot of people is like, oh yeah, well, ever since Steve Jobs died, they don't innovate anything. That's not true at all. They innovate, it's just that they do it in ways that you don't realize they're doing it. For example, one thing I could point to is basically making people subscribe for storage. They make you pay what, $1, $2, $3 for iCloud. They're making you pay for storage, right? Over time, you're paying, everybody else is paying, and all that money's adding up. You got subscriptions for storage. Most other businesses don't do that. Even Microsoft, like, it's like if you have an Xbox Live account or you have a Microsoft Office account, yeah, they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it based upon what they saw Apple do because storage usually was free. And then they raised it up to people getting like, a half terabyte, a full terabyte and everything. But they basically took their lessons from Apple. Everybody's sitting back watching what Apple's doing because obviously what Apple's doing works. So that's one place where they started, well, where you could consider they started innovation. Another place they started innovation, opening up their own credit card. They had Goldman Sachs open up a credit card and then they wired it into their technology. And based upon that, they have a credit card that is attached to their cell phones. It's attached to Apple Watch. It's attached to iPad. It's attached to your Mac computer, so forth and so on. Who else really has that? Now, Samsung might have something like that, but to tell you the truth, I don't know anything about it or whether or not they have it because the reality is if you don't advertise something, nobody's going to know anything about it. So maybe they have it, maybe they don't. Somebody may correct me and they may say, oh, yeah, well, Samsung's got a credit card too. It's like, I don't know shit about it because I haven't seen it. So that said, who else? Google? Yeah, okay. Google phones, do they have a credit card? Do they? I don't know. Does Android have a credit card? I really don't know. Honestly, and I could look it up, and I honestly don't care either. If you're not going to advertise it, don't blame me as a consumer for not knowing about it because you didn't advertise it. So, whatever. They got a credit card. What else do they got? They got a savings account. Apple has a savings account. So what on that credit card or whenever you were spending using your Apple Pay, that money can be put towards a savings account that Apple has operating on their phones. And it takes but a few seconds. You go to the Apple Wallet, and you can open up that credit card or the savings account. Takes you but a couple of minutes, and you can have a savings account. So that's and I'm going to probably show a story about that in a little while. But that's the future. That's the future of technology. See, people are talking about cryptocurrency and digital money and this, that, and other, and CBDCs and all this central bank digital currency. The reality is, our currency already was digital. We got credit cards. We got debit cards. The thing about it is, this works anywhere in the world. You can have a savings account. You can use the Apple Card. You can do near field communication payments and this, that, and other. This stuff works anywhere on Earth that takes credit card payments. And if you don't have the near field communicator, then you have the Apple Card, which is made of titanium or whatever the metal is. And it's the future. Apple, whether or not that, like, people making fun of the Vision Pro headset and whatnot, Whether or not that thing sells, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna sell, simply because so many people have Apple Card and they have high limits on Apple Card. It's gonna sell. But whether or not it sells, they still have iPad coming. They still have iPhones coming. They still have Macs coming. They still have Mac laptops. People who are buying these things, they like this product. And the reality is, nobody else does what Apple does. They make a product that's second to none. I think Macs and Apple products, I really think they're at the top of the food chain. Now, me personally, I prefer to buy Alienware because I like PC and I like playing games on my computers and whatnot. I'm not using them for content creation. I do all my content creation on iPhone just like I'm doing now. So as far as I'm concerned, their product is second to none. So there are a lot of people who criticize Apple. Oh, why do you buy Apple products? Apple products are for sheep and blah, blah, blah. The reality is their product is second to none. You could argue that Android's a better system. Thing about it is 9 times out of 10, most people don't want Android. It's just that they can't afford the newest iPhone. They can't afford the Apple technology. It's so much more expensive, which is understandable. It's just like the difference between a Mercedes and a Toyota. It's like, yeah, the Toyota may last longer and the Toyota may be just as good a product. The problem is people want that Mercedes. They don't want the Toyota. They want the Mercedes. They know that the Mercedes is higher in quality. They know it's more expensive. They know it costs more to own it, but they want that. Now, they'll settle for the Toyota, but they didn't want the Toyota. They want the Mercedes. So today, Apple hit $3 trillion. So as you know, Apple's part of my personal index that I invest in. I call it Mangoat. Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Google, oil stocks, Amazon, and then Tesla, right? Tesla has like a valuation somewhere around 800 million. No, I'm sorry, 800 billion, and they're on their way to being a $1 trillion company. I'm pretty sure Tesla will hit that within the next year. Microsoft is already worth over $2 trillion, but Apple got there first. Microsoft will be $3 trillion, I would say, within the year, possibly within the next year, 365 days from now. Amazon's $1 trillion, Google's $1 trillion, NVIDIA, as you know, is $1 trillion. So basically, my personal index is all $1 trillion tech companies for the most part. So the question is, well, where should you be investing your money? What are the future wealthy, super wealthy companies? Because you can bet all of these companies are going the same direction Apple's going. They're cutting their costs and they're focused on being $1 trillion companies. Everybody wants, at this point, they want the highest valuations they can get. So Apple's doing its thing right there. Then you've got AMD. AMD is only worth $184 billion. But what's amazing to me, and as far as I'm concerned, AMD is undervalued. AMD, their stock is worth a bit more than Intel, and as you can see, Intel's worth $139 billion. AMD and Intel are the heads of CPU manufacturing on the consumer computer market. Intel stock has dipped since COVID, which just about everybody's stock has dipped since COVID, especially with the China having, put those COVID restrictions in. So I know Intel will be back eventually, but for the most part, AMD and Intel, they are both making a high quality CPU. AMD makes a high quality GPU. Intel also, as far as I'm concerned, is undervalued. And Intel has their new line of Arc GPUs. And my bet is that AMD or Intel or both, they're going to eventually start making their own laptops. Because, see, when you have your own storage, Intel has its own storage. When you have your own storage, when you have your own GPUs, when you have your own CPUs, at that point, you can basically build a laptop because you have all the key components. The only thing you would need is the motherboard, and you need a power supply and this, that, and other. But if you're Intel and you're already making this many components, you could easily be building your own computers, and you can easily control the price of said computer. So I really think Intel and AMD are undervalued, and I think they're basically going they're all going to $1 trillion, whether it be now or 3 years from now or 5 years from now. Those are going. These semiconductors are required for just about everything. You've got microchips running the power seats in your car. You've got microchips running the moonroof. You've got microchips running the airbags. These things are everywhere. As these cars go electric, as your stoves go electric, as your dryers go electric, as your water boilers go electric, they need more and more electric chips. They need more semiconductors. These things are all going to the moon. Like, it just is. Intel, AMD, these are a good place to put your money for the future. TSM is Taiwan Semiconductors. Obviously, it says in the name that these people build semiconductors. These are microchips that control just about everything, all your digital technology, all your smart technology. And by the way, TSM, Taiwan Semiconductors, they're building a factory in Arizona. As you can see, it says TSMC is sending more workers to speed up building of new Arizona plant. Micron, the other one that I consider right now to be undervalued, Micron is $63 a share right now. Micron is building its own factory in Troy, New York, and America is doing that. This is what it's supposed to look like. And America is doing that because they want to make sure that if China ever did take over Taiwan, that we wouldn't have to worry about China dominating the semiconductor market. So right there, like people ask me, oh yeah, well, what are some good stocks? I don't know what to pick and everything. I'll tell you, I've said this before. My strategy is to go after companies that make a good, strong product that is popular. Video game GPUs, artificial intelligence. There are lots of small companies making this stuff, but it's better to go after the big companies, as you've seen with NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple. So my thinking is AMD, Intel, TSM, Micron, they're very good companies to go after. I like Roku as well, and I own stock in Roku, and the reason why is because Roku, they put their technology into just about every off-the-shelf smart television that you see being sold at Walmart, Target, and Best Buy. Now, Samsung makes their own smart technology, but for the most part, Roku has a better system. They have the Roku remote. They have the Roku little boxes you can add onto your television. And Amazon has their little Fire Sticks, but that's already built into the price of their stock. So my thinking is Roku is also a good company. During the pandemic, Roku's stock skyrocketed, and it's pulled back since then. But Roku is definitely good for the future as well. So there you have, 5 companies worth future investment. So this is aside from the oil and bank stocks. As you can also see, Goodyear Tire, GM. Yeah, I also own shares in them. GM went from $33 to $38, but it's down from $60 something. GM's problem right now seems to be manufacturing its vehicles and the fact that China is still shut down, not to mention that the Russia-Ukraine conflict is causing problems in prices because a lot of these components came from Russia and China. Sheet metal specifically comes from Russia in many cases, and I know that they're trying to quietly get away from that, but it just is what it is. So those are the main things that I'm looking at. Those are the main things that I'm focused on. These multi-billion-dollar companies that are edging towards $1 trillion over the next 10 years. These are the main companies you want to focus on getting your money into. So back into April, this was the story, why Apple's partnership with Goldman is the future of banking. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it says, as trust in traditional banks falter, and see, here's the problem. That's not really true. The trust in those small banks, those small, obscure banks, those were faltering. But when you look at the really big banks, like you look at JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, for the most part, they're stable. They haven't taken huge tranches of these mortgage-backed securities. Most of these smaller banks are the ones that do that. That's why it's easy for those banks to get like annihilated within like, a night's time. It's because their valuations can drop very, very quickly. JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Capital One, Wells Fargo, despite all of the issues that they have had and the problems that they have had, they're still proving to be stable. Even Bank of America. But it says, as trust and traditional banks falter, the two most iconic names in tech and finance are joining together to create what might become America's mightiest fintech. Last week, Apple effectively dropped the mic on the nation's banking industry, while the average bank is paying less than 0.5% on savings accounts. The $2.6 trillion technology company announced it would be offering 4.15 annual returns to savers. And I have Apple Savings, and I benefit from that 4.15%. And in fact, when you're getting a rate of return like that, it's hard to argue that you should have your money anywhere else. But the reason why they're able to do that is because they don't have branches. They don't have, tellers. They also don't have like ATMs. So the issue that some people were claiming is like, we don't know where to take our money out. And I will point out that that's the main problem I have with Apple Savings. If I want to make deposits, they don't even have mobile check deposits yet. Like normally you can just do a mobile check deposit because I still have incoming checks from my renters. So the thing about it is if they write me a check, I usually do the mobile deposit like with Capital One. I could just, turn my phone around, take a picture, and boom, it goes into the account like a day later, right? Apple needs that because that makes it easy for me to put money into the Apple savings account. The other problem is taking the money out. If the only way that I can get the money out is to transfer the money to my Apple card after making a purchase, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just that what if I need cash? And if I need to take cash out, where am I supposed to get it? Am I supposed to get it at ATM? Well, I don't have a bank card. So I have Apple Card, yes, but I don't have a bank debit card. So how am I supposed to get money out of my savings account? And that's the problem that I have with these online banking accounts. They make it very obscure or difficult for you to either put money in or especially take money out. Now, granted, a savings account is supposed to be difficult to take the money out. That's the point of a savings account. You're not supposed to take the money out. You're supposed to save it, It says the new product rollout comes at a time when regional banks are scrambling in the wake of Silicon Valley Bank crisis to maintain their deposit bases. And cash-starved fintech startups are likewise struggling. Technically, Apple doesn't have a banking license. It is fronting for Goldman Sachs Bank, otherwise known as Marcus, which has a state charter and is FDIC insured, which is also very important. With FDIC insurance, I never have to worry that I'll have $250,000 in there and it's not insured and it just disappears. Not like that Bitcoin bullshit where you can literally lose 60% of your value within a couple of days and, have to hold it hoping that it someday goes back up to that $68,000 so that you can get your money back. So anyway, according to polling company Gallup's annual confidence in institutions survey last year, prior to SVB, only 27% of Americans reported to have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in their bank. That number is down from its peak of 60% in 1979. By contrast, Apple landed in the top spot for the 10th consecutive year in 2022, according to Interbrand's annual global best brands ranking. The only bank to make the top 25 was JP Morgan, ranked at 24 just ahead of YouTube. YouTube has a bank? Oh, this is a brand, best brand. Yeah. YouTube could start a bank. Why not? The YouTube bank. I mean, they've got money coming from Google AdSense. But see that, and that tells you right there, this is what it's all about. This technology and the way that we earn money has changed. Digital technology, cell phones, smartphones, the internet, content creation, it's changed the way that we earn money. Why can't YouTube have a bank? Why can't Rumble have a bank? Why can't Facebook have a bank? Now, they don't even need banking licenses. All they have to do is make a partnership with some company that's a bank that's FDIC insured, and they can put together a product the same way Apple did. And chances are you're going to see more of that simply because now everybody's seeing how wealthy Apple is getting, having just hit $3 trillion on their way to $4 trillion. And what's funny is the first company, being Apple, the first company to ever hit $1 trillion, they hit that $1 trillion less than 5 years ago, and already they're hitting 3. So who's to say 4 or 5 isn't going to come within the next 2 or 3 years? I would say they'll hit $4 trillion within the next 2 years. Nobody makes a product that can even hope to compete with them. And that's just a reality. They can make all these crappy, ugly-ass Android phones, the few companies that do make them. But the reality is most people aren't willing to bet on those products. The people who do, yeah, mostly they're mobile gamers. But for the most part, most of those products are lackluster and milquetoast. And that's just all I had to say. So that's it. That's it for this story. Apple's on top, $3 trillion. I have been with them since, what was it, like 2012? And I made a lot of videos trying to convince people to buy in when they did that stock split back in 2015. And then when they did the next one, I made more videos. And then when they did the next one, I made even more videos. And the reality is that the proof's in the pudding. They're killing it. They're killing it. I personally think, I could be wrong, but honestly on this, I've actually been right mostly each time. Because I was saying that because of the cost of the stocks, I figured Google and Amazon would have to eventually follow Apple and do a split because they wanted to, reduce the cost of each share, right? I think it's very possible Microsoft may end up doing a split. Now, I can't prove that. I don't know who is in charge of whether or not they would do something like that, but there's very good possibility Microsoft could say, you know what, we want to do a stock split. Very good possibility. Amazon and Google already did theirs. Tesla did theirs. Who else? Apple has already done theirs. I think there's a very good possibility that within the next year or two, Microsoft could announce that they plan on doing a split. If that's the case, I definitely intend to have money ready and waiting to deploy for a stock split if Microsoft does one. Microsoft also makes a product nobody can compete with. Windows, Microsoft Office, nobody competes with that. It just is what it is. Being the cornerstone of just about every laptop and desktop sale, Microsoft is omnipresent. The Microsoft Office subscriptions, the Xbox subscriptions. And I am very disappointed in Microsoft with Xbox. I'm very disappointed with them. Xbox was a great system. Xbox 360 was a great system. Had lots of variety, had Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Dance Dance Revolution games. But after that, Microsoft Xbox One was shit. The only game I had that I really played a lot on that game system was Battlefield 4. Sony had the same thing. I think Microsoft Xbox, the One, I think it was terrible. I think the system that they built as a stopgap, the Xbox One X, I think that sucked. I think Xbox One S and X, I think they both sucked. Then after that, they made the Series X, and I think that's just plain stupid. And now even the Microsoft CEO basically agrees. He's like, yeah, we lost this war to PS5. And I just think they screwed up entirely. And that said, they still have control of Activision and the Call of Duty game series, which I'm guessing that they'll keep making it for PlayStation. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. I don't know. But Microsoft bought that because they got that kind of money and they bought it. And who knows? I really don't know. But my problem is their games are boring. It's like everything's a first-person shooter or an RPG. Everything's an open world. I think that that's the laziest form of video game making ever. So, like, me personally, I game on the PC. It's like when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, I'd probably buy it on the PC, especially considering you can mod it if you want. But I'm very disappointed with them. However, they're still making the money, and they still got their subscribers subscribed. So I can't argue that they don't have a good business strategy. My problem is the lackluster product, and I think that they should have done something better. By now, they should have had a Steam handheld portable. That, like, they should have had Xbox Mobile or something, like Nintendo Switch. I don't know what they're doing over there. But the bottom line is Microsoft is a cornerstone of business. They're doing great. I'm pretty sure Microsoft will be $3 trillion very soon. They're only about $500 billion away. So they'll be another $3 trillion company. But they're still chasing behind Apple. And yeah, they'll get there. It's just that it's going to take them a while. So that's basically all I had to say. So here, those are my recommendations. If you're starting a new trading account, like, I recommend Charles Schwab. There are others like E-Trade, but I personally use Charles Schwab. Build up your dividend paying shares. Like, I've showed you my dividend paying list in my last video. So you want to build up those dividend payers. This way, every single year, you could be like me. You could say, yeah, I've got $2,000 or $3,000 coming in from dividend stocks from 2 different or 3 different portfolios, however you choose to do it. You want to focus on dividends, and you want to focus on buying low and selling high if you're buying shares that aren't dividend payers. See, me personally, I will hold the dividend payers indefinitely, and I will sell at a gain, but I don't like selling dividend payers if I can avoid it. My oil stocks were one of my, that's an exception, and the reason why is because I had originally said that I was planning to use the oil money that I made in order to buy my electric car. Now, Cadillac, I'm still waiting for these bastards to hurry up and build my freaking car, but that just tells you the reason why GM stock has fallen so low. It's because they're not doing a great job of keeping up with volume. They're not doing a good job of building the cars people actually want. And this is kind of exactly the reason why the bastards went out, bankrupt back in 2008. And that was what everybody kept saying. They're like, oh, you're not building the cars people want. Yeah, well, hurry up and build my goddamn Cadillac. Just hurry up. So it is what it is. I got to just wait, be patient. And while I'm being patient, I'm stacking my money as high as it'll stack. So that was just another little stock rant. And I gave you 5 specific companies and my philosophy as to why you should be investing in them. So again, it's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. You could take all your money and you could put it into Dogecoin or XRP or whatever it is and watch your money disintegrate and evaporate. But meanwhile, I'm going to be in business class headed to Bali. And you're going to be like, how did he get there? How did he do that? It must have been affirmative action. How come he's in business class and I'm not? And then I'm going to look at you through the camera and I'm going to say, well, the reason why I'm here and you're not is because when I was telling you what to invest in and you didn't do it, it's because, that's what it was. So that, affirmative action didn't get me where I am. It's just that I put my money where my mouth was, and that's it. So thank you very much for listening. And that's just been another stock rant.